And then, John, I got to get a camera on you.
No, you don't.
Okay, you could be just a voice.
I'd prefer to be the disembodied voice if possible.
Nobody wants to be.
No, I don't.
Nobody wants to be on camera. Ken is actually the gigantic floating head. Pay no attention to the man behind the camera. That's Ken Shepherdson, our new director of engineering. John Slanina is in here, also Jammer B,
Hello.
who is kind of our de facto studio manager. And I want to do this every once in a while, record a little bit. We'll put on YouTube and we'll put on the Twit specials to give you an update on what's going on Twit. I'm Leo Laporte, the chief Twit here. And boy, there's some big changes coming down the pipe. Now, you know about the changes we've made in programming. We've added Tech News Today with Tom Merritt. We've been doing that for about a month now, and it started June 1st, and it's really been a success. Thank you for all of you who are watching that. And to Becky Worley, Sarah, and by the way, Sarah Lane is also on staff now, but to Becky Worley and Sarah Lane, who are helping Tom do that show, and all the others who have been on it, Eric Lanigan, who's producing it. Becky's going to be doing more with us. Sarah Lane's on staff, and Sarah's going to be developing 2 new shows. One with Dr. Kiki called Green Tech Today, which will be launching in the next month, I think June 13th, something like that, July 13th, something like that, about the technology of sustainability. And then Sarah and I are going to do a show called iPad Today, which is almost ready. I think we'll launch next week or the week after, which will be a weekly show, I think Thursdays at 1, covering the latest on iPad. So that's the programming material, but there's something big coming up this weekend, and I want to point you to a new site that we've set up. If you go to status.twit.tv, Ken has set up a site that will give you an update on what's going on in the Twit cottage. It's a Tumblr that'll just basically tell you if there's issues, we know there's issues, outages, schedule changes, that kind of thing. It also has a link to our Get Satisfaction site, which is something else Ken has set up, so that you have a place you can go to say, hey, there was a mistake, there's a download's not happening, what's going on, iTunes isn't working. Please consider reducing audio stream bitrate, these kinds of things. So these are all great things, and I encourage you to use Get Satisfaction. We are absolutely going to continue to use that. Lane Becker, the founder, was out at Food Camp, and I had a great time with him. He was my manservant at Food Camp.
Nice.
That's what we called him. Anyway, Ken, tell us, what are you doing? So this is starting when? Right after East Meets West on Sunday night?
As soon as we wrap up on Sunday evening, John and I are going to start unplugging things in the studio. And we're going to try to remember what's plugged in where. No,
Hopefully we will be using labels.
Right. We're going to do some general upkeep in the studio, but we're also going to prep for Monday when we're going to have Kelly Herron from allinonetruck.com, all-in-one-truck.com is coming in. He's a grip and does set design and lighting design. He's going to come in and help us build a new lighting grid here in the studio. It's going to be
amazing.
We're going to be able to hang all the cameras from the grid. We're going to be able to have a flexibility in lighting that we don't have right now. Colleen had put together an excellent first-generation lighting grid.
It really was a first generation.
And now we're going to take it to the next level and
we're very excited.
Go crazy.
Yeah. Here's his truck, by the way. It's an amazing truck that he has all this stuff, this grid and everything on it. Not the RV next to it. But
so that little black truck's going to be parked next to the cottage, and we're going to be staging out in the back.
So we're going to have this. One of the things this will solve is the darkness that you see in here. We're running these cameras. We're overdriving these cameras. We use light panels, and we spent about 10 grand on light panels, and they're great, but they don't throw a huge amount of light. So we're running these cameras at f2.2. We should be running them at f6. That's why sometimes it's a little grainy. That's why you're not seeing the color depth that you ought to be seeing here. So Ken and Kelly have designed a lighting rig that will allow us to have 3 China globes in here, which are big. All-encompassing lights. It will light everything up quite a bit, and then we'll use. It'll still look kind of the same, but it'll be better lit, and the cameras won't be overdriven, because we'll use the light panels as they should have been used for accent on top of a much brighter base of light from the China globes.
We'll also have the cameras coming from the ceiling on posts and rails, so we can slide them around as we need to.
That's going to be huge.
And then the idea is that
because right now everything's on, you can't see it, but everything's on tripods.
Right.
When you come in here, there's wires on the floor. You trip. It's crazy. I mean, when we have guests come in, and we do have guests every day now. Bill's in studio. Bill Wolf, right now from Riverside, California, and we have to say, please watch that, and it's hard not to knock stuff.
A good third of the floor space in the studio is taken up by tripods.
Yeah.
I can't wait till
It'd be so
those
nice
go
not
away.
to have that. That'll really expand our space. So those cameras will be hanging. Right now we're using Canon XL2s and one GL2, but we'll replace those in time as well.
Yep. We're going to go to Sony EX1s, EX1Rs, potentially, or little pan and tilt remote controlled cameras.
Right.
And all of what we build in here now at this point with the lighting grid will be something we can move to the new studio.
Yeah, so this is this is why we've kind of been slow to fix stuff in here. Is that we keep thinking, well, this is a temporary. You know, that we've been here 2 years in this studio. It grew from a spy cam on me doing podcasts to now number of hosts in here, number of shows coming. I don't know, 25 shows coming out of here. So we want to make it a better studio, and we want to make it ultimately a bigger studio for people. We can have more looks, more feels. This was designed around me sitting on a ball, and so that's why it doesn't work too well when we have Tech News Today and so forth. We really want to expand the facility a little bit, make it more comfortable. So all of this stuff is temporary,
right,
but movable.
Right.
An exciting part of the new rig, the Colleen's version, the first version, is sitting on the mantelpiece along the top of the room.
Because we couldn't, it's a heritage home. We couldn't modify the home too much.
It's only connected at the light fixture at the top center of the room.
Right.
This new piece is going to be a 4-poster. It's going to be freestanding with 4 great big posts in the corners. So that will make it adjustable to any new environment.
Yep, with 2-inch aluminum tubing, and this will become the earthquake shelter. this room. When there is an earthquake in Petaluma, you come to this room.
this will be the safe place. Yes. The safe place to be. So we're excited about the changes. Is there anything else? Let's see.
We're going to try to stream it on Monday.
Oh yeah.
So
we'll be off the air. When are you going to take us off the air?
We're not going to be off the air.
We're going to go to reruns.
We will be streaming the reruns from a different machine.
In the other room. Yeah. Okay.
When shows wrap on Sunday, we'll go to reruns, but we'll have a preset rerun package we'll be running from outside the studio. We'll start taking the studio down on Sunday. On Monday morning, when Kelly gets here and we start up working on the lighting grid, we'll probably just have a single camera shot from outside the studio that looks into the studio, or maybe something inside the studio here mounted, so you can watch us mess up the place all day on Monday.
That'll be fun.
While we continue to play reruns, and so you can listen to reruns at least.
Yeah. So there'll also be some outages where we have to switch power over on some of the streaming machines, but for the most part, we'll be carrying the whole.
So will we stream the build on a specials channel, or will it be on our main?
No, we'll have either the XL2 S video straight out into the distribution.
So you'll be able to watch this on Monday.
You'll be able to watch that one live camera on the 5th.
The 5th. We should say the 5th of July, 2010.
How many times can you watch a Twilight Zone marathon?
Yes.
Watch this instead.
You can have both. And that's great. We are working on streaming on the Roku box. There is a technical issue, I think. We use a stream from Ustream that is not properly formed for Roku.
Roku's a little stricter about the headers on the M3U8 file.
Yeah, that's the weird file that Roku needs. But we are working on that with our partner MediaFly, who is our Roku provider. So we will have streaming not only on Roku. I think once we have an M3U8 for Roku, it'll be on all the MediaFly. I think on all the MediaFly.
I believe so. We have to work a little bit on the resolution for that because we're doing that streaming right now. It's what we use for iPhone. Yeah. And we'll want a little bit better quality for the Ustream.
Well, do we have an extra stream box we could put it on?
We do.
Yeah, so maybe that's the thing to do. We kind of reserved that box for the Roku. So maybe that's, I mean, I know Ustream doesn't mind. Ustream loves us to use as much of their bandwidth as possible. Yep. Also, I want to address, Ray, we are going to cancel a few shows. We've already canceled Maxwell's House. We're canceling the lower 3 or 4 shows on the network, shows that have fewer than 5,000 viewers. I hate to cancel any show, and I love Ray, as you know, and I love that show. But if a show has fewer than 5,000 viewers, it doesn't eat any fewer resources here. So essentially, the way it is right now, given the amount of room we have in the facility here, we've maxed it out, and the amount we can afford to pay for editors and the people that put out shows, we have a certain number of shows we can do. Each editor does 7 to 8 shows. So if we want to add shows, and we are adding 4 new shows, because I haven't said anything about the new enterprise computing show we're adding. So as we add new shows, we have to cancel the shows that aren't performing. We really worked hard to make Ray's show a success. I believe that there is a good audience for it, but 5,000 is not enough. in download and streaming. It's not enough unfortunately, for us to carry the show. So what I told Ray, and I would tell you, is you're not going to see the end of Ray, but what we're going to do is just, Ray won't have a weekly hour to fill, but he will appear regularly on Twit whenever there's an area that he has some expertise in, and that's pretty much everything. Whether it's Tech News Today, he's going to be on Mac Break Weekly this Tuesday. He does already appear on This Week in Photography on a regular basis. So you're not seeing the end of Ray, you're just seeing the end of an hour of Ray every week. And I think probably we're going to have to do that with a couple of other shows that are underperforming. We just cannot use our limited resources and airtime for shows that just don't find a following. And 5,000 people sounds like a lot, but it's really way underperforming what we need. We need 10 times that, really, for a show to succeed.
And over time, we'll get more efficient to the point where we'll be able to support shows with niche shows like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are ways to do that, and I think down the road we will. The truth is, I got a total of 12 letters saying we miss Ray, and that's 12 people, but that's not a lot, frankly. So for those 12 people, I'm sorry, and I'm sure there's many more. But that's just, unfortunately, the way it is. We just can't just put any old show on. You can always write to me, absolutely, Web5297, leo@twit.tv or leo@leoville.com. I do read all the things and get satisfaction. And there's another place you can go where I will read it and others will read it as well. So we do encourage your feedback. We welcome your feedback. We count, Cyril, we count everybody. We count watching the live stream, downloading, ODTV. We count everybody. And it's still, it's 4,000 people. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny number. And it doesn't cost us any less. There's no advertising on it. It doesn't cost us any less whether it's 4,000 or 400,000. So we just can't afford to do shows for such a small audience. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. And I apologize. Let me answer a couple of questions out of chat. Some people are still asking things. We are taking resumes for new editors. Anytime you want a job at Twit, jobs@twit.tv. We do collate those, and when jobs turn up, we are glad to look through that first. I have to tell you, the way people get jobs, Ken got a job because I got to know him over a period of time, starting, I think, at Bear Hug Camp. Then he did our website for us as a contract employee, and when Colleen left, he was in position to jump right in. John is a really good example of somebody who wanted a job so badly, he moved to Petaluma, got an apartment 2 blocks away, and, didn't harass us, but just made himself a presence around here and let us know that he was available. He started at $10 an hour doing a crappy job, and he slowly worked his way into a full-time job here. And we are really glad to have John. It really is nice to have John.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
You're not recommending, of course, that people move to Petaluma.
Please do not move to Petaluma to get a job here. Especially because I think in the long run, I don't know how much longer we're going to be in Petaluma. We're already talking about the next studio, and it could very well be in San Francisco. And as you know, that's another question I get a lot. What happened to the New York plan? I was very gung-ho on the New York plan. It was driven by advertiser interest, which is always a good thing. We had free space there, but it still was going to cost us $300,000 or $400,000 to set up before we saw a penny of it. And frankly, we can't afford it. So if we were venture funded, as some companies are, we probably would be doing that already. I think it's a virtue not to be venture funded, because when you spend $1, you have to have earned the dollar first, and it just makes more sense to me to build something that way instead of just saying, hey, we got $1 million to spend, where should we spend it? So, and I don't want to give up control to anybody else. I want the people who work here, it's not just me, but the people who work here, to control our destiny. So that seems to be a better way to go. Does slow us down a little bit. I do plan to do a New York studio as soon as we can afford it, but it's, that's $500,000 we have to save up. So it's going to be next year probably. Yeah, Leo's sister does read my email and passes it along. And if you want to visit the studio, as Bill did, you can email eva@twit.tv. The wiki has a lot of this information, by the way. We've always done rating stunts, Disney Echo. That's what the 24 Hours of iPhone was. That's what our live coverage is, in a way, is rating stunts. That's where people tune in. So that's, in the sense, rating stunts. What it really is we're attempting to reach out to an audience and gain another audience.
Leo, I see Aaron B is asking if there's an opportunity to work for Twit but telecommute.
What do you think?
Well, I would point out that we have
about 40 contractors who do not work at the cottage.
And we also have people who participate in the community and volunteer and help us.
That's a great way to start.
Right.
Let me. I don't want to sound like a cheapskate, but John volunteered for a long time, and that's how he got in the door. And I tell my daughter that as well. The best way to get a job is to intern or volunteer somewhere, the place you want to work. And as we get to know you and trust you, and as we grow, of course, the first people who are going to have job opportunities are the people we know well who have been already working for us. So, Aaron, I know Aaron's been around for a long time. I know you very well, Aaron. We are looking for people to help produce Twit, Twig, and MacBreak Weekly. That is something we'd like to do in the future. So, if you want to volunteer.
And as we build out the new website, we're going to need people to help us transfer content over, tag content. Yep. Sort of the people who've been working on show notes will be a great help there in importing content over. So there'll be opportunities here.
Danny Etheridge has a great suggestion, which is put a volunteer needed list up on the wiki, and we
should do that.
Look at there's so much we want to do, and there's so few of us, and we're so pushed to the limit at this point that sometimes even just asking for help takes too much of our energy.
Yes. It's just to take the breath and say, all right, what do I need help with next?
Yeah. I mean, we're just barely keeping our heads above water, which is fine. I mean, we're in startup mode, and everybody expects that. But you're right. We should do that. And in fact, maybe somebody would like to do that on the wiki. I'm looking for a volunteer who wants to put up a list of volunteers on the wiki. So there are lots of ways you can help. But you have to be a self-starter. You have to be kind of autonomous. You have to have a good work ethic, and you have to be smart. But I think most of the people in our audience are like that. We will do something. We'll do a Skills Wanted volunteer board or something like that. Web 6424. We are very aware of how popular Twit is, not only in the UK but all around the world. We have. It's amazing. It blows me away. We get visitors here from Australia on a regular basis, people who come from very far away. This Sunday, we had somebody from Australia who was very excited for the chance to get in here. Danny is a web designer. What are we looking for on the web? Do you want to talk about that, or do you want to kind of keep that under your hat?
I'll just say generally that the way I got connected up with Twit initially was to do the new Drupal site. And when Colleen went to Google and I stepped in, it meant I was doing.
He's now full-time doing this.
That. So it has made it really difficult to take the preview of the site that we'd put up and take it across the finish line. We've got some people who we've been working with in the past with Drupal, but I don't know whether we want to put out a call for volunteers, but keep an eye out in IRC and through the various channels and inside Twit for that to come possibly soon. Just a request for Drupal developers.
Yeah, and I tweet those things. I tweet job openings and things like that. Yeah. So follow me on Twitter. I think that's a good idea. We have Twit Live, and Leo Laporte are our 3 Twitter accounts. Inside.twit.tv, status.twit.tv. You should add those to your bookmarks.
One of the goals of the new site was to consolidate some of those properties, and so
eventually everything will be in Twit TV, not running on other platforms.
Things might get a little bit worse before they get better in that sense.
Well, I think that's the one reason we're using these addresses, right? Is that they will all stay the same. They just may be internal and content systems instead of external. Thank you, Ken Shepherdson, our newest VP of Engineering, and really a worthy successor to Colleen Kelly, who transformed this place from nothing into a truly amazing facility, and Ken has taken us to the next level, and we're really glad you're here, part of this. Thanks too to John Slanina, who came up from nothing. He actually retired to Petaluma to be with us, and we really appreciate that, John. You're just the greatest. John every day does something that makes a difference here, as does Ken, as does frankly everybody who works here. If you could ever come here and meet the people who work here, everybody's Eric and Tony and Daniel, our editors upstairs, John and Ken, Frederic in the front office, of course, Lisa Kensel, our CEO. They're just working their butts off to make this something. And now that we have Tom and Sarah, and we've got some new people coming along, we're very excited about the future of Twit. This is the stage where it gets to be a little hard. You've been through startups before. I think you know that, Ken. Yep. This is where the real work starts to happen. And I hope you will bear with us, because truthfully, without the audience, without you, there's really no point in doing this. And the Twit Army has been so supportive, so incredible. thanks too to our volunteers. I mean, people like Dan and Houdini7, who does our great Twit app. All the people who are regulars in the chat room, Dr. Mom and Aaron and Troubled and Mick and all of you guys, Hip. See, once I start naming names, I could be here for an hour, so I'm not going to go through everybody's name. You know who you are. I really appreciate all the help that all the people who work so hard to make this happen. We really we couldn't do it without you, so thank you very much. And to our sponsors and bandwidth providers who are instrumental in keeping us keeping the power on. All right, we're going to, that's enough of that, but I think I might start doing this, and I'll have to think of what day. We'll put it on the schedule, where once a week we'll just do a 15-minute thing on what's going on at Twit so that you can kind of know, and we'll put that on YouTube and on our Twit specials feed, so just to keep you up to date, because I think things are starting to happen around here. Thanks, everybody. You laugh. Ha!